Hello, my name is Dr. Stanley Lang. Welcome to this video. The reason for the video is to share an update with you about some recent research that's been coming out of South Korea and China, and mainly South Korea, but different periodicals are starting to publish on this, but you may not have heard it, and it might be relevant to you. And so as doctors have been looking at the mortality rates associated with the COVID-19 infection, they've been looking at what were the associations with people that survived and those that died. And the death rate in South Korea is between 6 and 8 times higher than the influenza death rate in the United States. So the stated case fatality rate in the United States is 0.1 per 100. The rates in South Korea are approximately 0.6 to 0.8 per 100. So it's in that range. It's going to be changing. The statistics will change a little bit as time goes by, as more people are tested, as more people with minimal or no symptoms are found to be infected. That's going to change these statistics. But looking at the subsets of people, there are some very significant common denominators that point to something that you could be doing right now that might modify your risk. And if you look at the people with the highest risk of dying from the COVID-19 or coronavirus infection, in addition to the obvious thing about age that has been talked about a lot, the thing that's the highest risk is if you have coronary artery disease, and it's about 10%. The risk if you have diabetes is about 6%, and hypertension is somewhere between the diabetes and coronary artery disease. Now, what's in common with these three conditions? Well, the thing that's in common with them is that they are all part of the spectrum of severe insulin resistance, or otherwise known as metabolic syndrome, otherwise known as prediabetes. Well, diabetes has progressed all the way, but the research is very strong in supporting that coronary artery disease is largely a disease of severe and sustained insulin resistance syndrome. Now, cholesterol, of course, has been implicated in that, but it's sort of not the major cause. It's pulled into the inflammation caused by the severe insulin resistance. This is clear from the research that's being done and reported in multiple places, which I won't go over. What many people don't realize is that most hypertension is an expression of severe insulin resistance. Now, a small percentage of hypertension is caused by kidney disease, but the rest of it, which used to be called essential hypertension, is largely caused by insulin resistance, with a lot of stress thrown in, adding to it, obviously. So what is insulin resistance? Well, that's where the body slowly becomes resistant to your own insulin signal, and it develops because we eat too many high glycemic carbs. High glycemic carbs are carbs that are turned to sugar quickly. And so the average American is consuming lots of high glycemic carbs on a regular basis. And this is clearly a risk factor for this infection. Now, maybe it is if you've got mild insulin resistance that there's no risk. Nobody has looked at that. Nobody knows. But clearly, these three conditions have a common denominator. Coronary disease, diabetes, and hypertension all have in common severe insulin resistance. Now, it might be shown later that they all three are high risk for other reasons, but I suspect that it's really tied to insulin resistance. Certainly the diabetes is. So you can either decide that you want to do everything you can to reverse insulin resistance or not. I mean, if you want to do nothing about your risk for this infection, then do nothing. But if you want to do something about it, that's not just sort of sitting around waiting for something to happen, then make a real change in your diet. Now, as people are being forced into staying in their homes more and more, the tendency is going to be to be eating all the wrong stuff. And that's what you need to avoid doing. You need to start eating all the right stuff. So the foods that you need to avoid, if you're serious about changing this whole chemical abnormality that we call insulin resistance syndrome, it's critical that you cut out all the grains, all the potatoes, all the rice, and all the sugar. I'm not talking about fruit sugar. And if you want to rapidly change that. Now, I've been teaching this strategy to patients with insulin resistance related conditions for decades. And I know that you can turn the ship around fairly quickly. I've seen radical and rapid improvement in patients that decide that they're going to turn things around, and they just eliminate all that stuff and go basically with protein and fat, vegetables and fruit. And believe it or not, you can survive your whole life on that and never eat the other stuff. Now, as I said, you might not want to do anything different to make a difference in your risk. But I believe that what we're going to see down the road is that there's going to be a spectrum of risk associated with getting this virus and dying from it or having a severe infection and worsening insulin resistance. That's speculation, not been proven. You can ignore it if you don't want to, pay attention to those points. But if you do want to do something about it and you're not quite sure what to do, I have an ebook that you can get. It's free. It's titled "Why Am I Still Fat?" which is maybe an odd book for this coronavirus outbreak, but it has the instructions on how to eat a low glycemic diet. Most people eat this diet because they want to lose weight. Well, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting a crash weight loss diet. What I'm suggesting is a crash reverse your insulin resistance diet. And that's what this will do. So if you're interested in it, click on the link and it'll be a free book for you to read and give you insights on how to do low glycemic eating. Now, there's a whole slew of strategies out there on how to do low glycemic eating. I've been teaching this particular way for more than 30 years. One of the reasons I like it is that people have the ability to stay on it for a long, long time. And so I think it increases the odds of sustained low glycemic eating. But if you don't like this version, find some other version of low glycemic eating so that you can radically turn around your insulin resistance if you have it. Well, more than 50% of adults over 50 or over 40 have it. More than 50% over 40 have significant insulin resistance, probably approaches 70% in our country. So this is not a trivial issue. And it's something that you can do something about if you want to. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you stay healthy during this coronavirus infection that's sort of rippling through the country. I wish you well. God bless and have a good day.